A very good day to all of you. Wish you all a very conscious and happy life. Today I am presenting to you my recorded presentation on stress management that I used for the program that we had in our clubhouse on 11th of February, which was well attended, and I think I received a very good feedback, and that basically to me means that I have contributed to some extent in reducing stress in some people's life, and I think that's a great thing to do. So I'm going to actually share this with all of you so that all of you can use this, practice it, and make sure that you keep stress as far away as possible with very simple steps that I'm not just sharing with you from the knowledge I have, but something that I have personally practiced and have seen it work for me. Of course, what works for me need not work for all of you, but I'm sharing what I know, and you can try and see what works, what doesn't. And right in the beginning, I would like to offer that if any one of you feels you need a separate session with me, one on one, to get some inputs, get some counseling, get some consultation on some of these topics that I keep doing programs on. You are most welcome to fix an appointment with me. But please remember my phone number and email ID on which you can actually access me through SMS and messages, and I'll confirm a time and we can always do that. I'll be very happy to be of some help in your lives. So let's get started. First of all, let us understand what is stress, because I think that is critical. Once we understand that, we will be able to deal with what we understand better. I hope you agree with me, right? So, according to science, stress is simply a reaction to a stimulus that disturbs our physical or mental equilibrium. In other words, it's an omnipresent part of life. So, interesting words here to note is basically it could be physical. Example of this could be, when you have some physical ailment, you have fever, you have cough, you have cold, you have burnt yourself or something like that, then your body goes through a kind of stress while it is recovering from that process. And then the other kind could be mental. For example, we are stressed out because of some deadlines that we are working towards. As some of you mentioned in the program, we are stressed out mentally because of the school bus that's going to come in the morning at 6:45, and probably your mind is working on what all you need to do and what time you need to get up all through night, and you're already preparing the previous night for the next day. So there is a kind of stress that you are under whenever you have something that you have to do within a certain period of time. And sometimes the stress is because of something that happens around us, that happens to us, which is a little beyond our control and comprehension. Some very dear one passes away. We have to bear the loss of somebody very dear to us. These can be extremely stressful situations. And I would say basically, stress comes from two things. One, when you are fearing the outcome of what might happen, and the fact that you actually don't know. So these two things can actually create some kind of stress in our life. The other word that I like in this definition is actually it is omnipresent. Before this I had only heard of God being omnipresent, and now the second thing that I hear omnipresent is actually stress. This is interesting, but not a very happy thing to note, frankly. And I truly believe that it doesn't have to be so. Um, we don't have to use this word stress because it has a negative connotation. There may be at times some pressure for us to do certain things, but for a lot of us, we need that to do a good job. So we don't have to look at it as something negative, and that makes all the difference, as we will see in some of the points we're going to go through. More than what the factor is, it is more about how we respond to it that actually makes it a stress. The second thing is stressful event can trigger the fight or flight response, causing hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol to surge through the body. Now, this is again a science that we all, if we know, can feel this happening when we are in stressful situations. And once we know this happens, we will know how to deal with it. So basically, we all have an animal instinct, and which is very, very basic at the core of all of us, right? So our mind just looks at everything that happens, every incident that happens around us, and gauges a simple thing: is it a happy thing or is it a dangerous thing, right? Um, and whenever it finds something that is dangerous, then there are basically two responses that our body reacts. One is fight, it gets ready with all the hormones that it needs to make the body strong to fight what it perceives as a danger. And the second thing that it does is actually prepares itself to just run away or take a flight. So basically, when it gauges that the danger is seemingly more powerful, um, and feels maybe very small chances of winning that over by power, then if we have a chance, then our body wants to just run off that place. So this is very, very basic, and it happens to all of us, and I don't think we can actually control that. But it is good to know this, to know how and what to do when this happens to us. So here, one more thing very important for us to note is to understand what these two hormones that are mentioned here actually do to us. Adrenaline, very simply put, actually this gives us the power that we ourselves did not know we had. You might have actually seen when you are in real danger. Some of us are very scared of cockroaches, and some of us are scared of, rats and mouses and lizards or whatever it may be. And when that happens, you thought you actually couldn't even walk properly, and you have a problem in your knee, it's hurting, but suddenly you find yourself up on the bed and you have no idea how you jumped up on that without feeling anything about the pain you had. Yes, you all connect to that. So basically, it's something like that, right? Sometimes people have come across telling their stories when they actually got stuck in places from where they could not get out, and they couldn't, see any hope of somebody saving them. They managed to actually survive by using some techniques and some energy that was there within them. And this actually interestingly comes from this hormone. Now when I talk about cortisol, it interestingly is the hormone that actually helps us think. When we have to fight with somebody or decide on whether we are wanting to fight or are there ways to escape without fighting, and which one is better and so on, then we are talking about better and actually quick decision making, skill. And also, it is about preparing a strategy. And this is what actually helps us do that. So once you know that this happens, please remember, when you get stuck in a situation that you perceive to be dangerous and you need to cope with it, have faith, take a deep breath, and believe in the universe that it actually provides you with both these things that you need to cope with and deal with that situation. So don't lose heart, don't get unnecessarily stressed out. Just use these two things and get out of that situation. Now, the question is, can stress be good? Interestingly, yes. A little bit of stress, known as acute stress, can be exciting. It keeps us active and alert. If you have nothing to do um, in the day and you're not looking forward to anything, even to get up in the morning is difficult. There is nothing exciting happening in life. But the moment you have something exciting that you're looking forward to, you're going for a movie, you have guests coming in the house, you have exams coming up, you have a dance competition coming up, you suddenly see that there is an amazing energy that actually comes into your system, and you want to just get there and do it and win it, and whatever is necessary, you are looking forward to doing that. And that is also because of the little stress, little anxiety that actually is coming from that situation. So situation can be anything. It can be an exam, it can be guests coming, it can be going for a movie or any of this. But the work that is involved to enjoy that moment is a stressful moment, and but it can be seen in a positive manner. And if that stress was not there, for example, I don't care who is coming, I'll just go on with my life. I don't know, exams or no exams, I'll do whatever I know and I'll just come back. Um, Dance competition, whatever I know, I'll just do it. And if I win, I win. If I don't, then it's okay. Imagine if you would go around living your life with that attitude. May not be great. And therefore, we say that some amount of stress, which we can call as anxiety, is actually, good and positive. But when this stress actually becomes long term, it's referred to as chronic stress and can have detrimental effects on health. Now, this could be when the exam fear becomes so big that 3 months before the exam you start having problems. You can't sleep, can't concentrate, you are fearing the outcome, you are imagining everything that can go wrong. You have times when you are sweating and you're feeling cold and you don't know why, and then you find yourself falling sick often. Now, this is when actually you are not dealing with the stress that you have perceived to be stress. And sometimes another example could be when somebody very dear passes away, as we mentioned earlier. When it especially comes as a sudden surprise, you need time to mentally and physically cope with the situation. And these are times when the wave downward is so big that unless you really are conscious and work hard and you have a team around you, whether it is of family members or friends or society, that can help you get back up there, you might get into a long-term stressful situation and almost what we call as depression, which might be difficult for you to deal with and might need professional help. So, what I would say is, from this, please understand that any stress, have faith, accept it, and know that you can deal with it, and you have been given what you need to deal with it, but you have to tap into that. And for that, you have to keep yourself calm and know how to tap into that. And don't allow yourself to be dragged down to a situation from where it is difficult for you to help yourself. Now, one thing that we all know and I think agree is that the stress factors are not in our control. They are usually external. unless it's something that is our own mind related. We're imagining some stuff, and we do that. I mean, seriously, we do that quite a bit. In fact, most of the stress, in my opinion, is generating within our own mind because of our own thoughts. So if we can keep our thoughts positive, we can actually eliminate a lot of these stressful situations. We are imagining and assuming situations negative before we get there, then the situations do get negative. So please remember that we actually have an amazing power to think what we want to happen. So basically, your thoughts are creating your world. So if you create positive thoughts, your world will be surrounded with positivity. And in case you have a lot of negative thoughts, then you will see a lot of negativity in your life. Now, therefore, in that sense, it is pretty much in your control as to how many stressors you face in life. But sometimes accidents, some ailments, and stuff like that may be a little out of our hand. And only thing we can do is really understanding all this. We should know how to deal with it when it happens and if it happens, right? So now let us look at some of the symptoms of stress, because it's almost become like a fad. We all seem to be under stress. You talk to a small kid, if the babies could speak, I think even they will say they are under stress. Come on. As somebody pointed out during our program, all these words, I mean, we are hearing actually in the last 10, 15 years. When we were kids, I don't think we knew of this word. Neither did we know about suicides and depression and God knows what. I think they're all linked. We have to really be careful in using these terms, because when we say we are in stress, I think it creates additional stress and converts things that are not really necessarily stress become stress. Are you with me? Yeah. So basically, let us look at, are we really stressed and how do we know that, and be sure when we should be asking for some help to deal with it. So, according to the American Institute of Stress, there are 50 common signs and symptoms of stress as follows. So, frequent headaches, jaw clenching, pain, gritting, grinding teeth, shuddering or stammering, tremors, trembling of lips, hands, neck ache, back pain, muscle spasms, lightheadedness, faintness, dizziness, ringing, buzzing, or popping sounds, frequent blushing, sweating, cold or sweaty hands and feet, dry mouth, problems swallowing, frequent colds, infections, herpes sores, rashes, itching, hives, goosebumps, unexplained or frequent allergy attacks, heartburn, stomach pain, nausea, excess belching, flatulence, constipation, diarrhea, loss of control, difficulty breathing, frequent sighing, sudden attacks of life threatening panic, chest pain, palpitations, rapid pulse, frequent urination. I mean, these are just 20, and each one of this you have to really go through carefully and see for yourself whether you witness a few of them on a regular basis. And if you don't know what is the cause for those things, then you could consider stress to be behind it. Although, let me warn you that many of these symptoms can be because of other reasons also. So, please don't assume that if you have one or two or three of these, then it is definitely stress only, right? So, there are like these 20, there are 30 more listed, and I'm not going to read out all of them. I'm just putting it out in this slide. You can look through it in leisure when you can and check for yourself if you need help. Now, what are the sources of stress? Let's look at that. As you can see, many different factors are there. And a lot of it are external and a lot of it is internal. Now, when you talk about different kind of fears, frankly, when you think deeply about fear, it is internal. Because fear is about something that is not known to us. most of the time. If we know what to expect, then we also are prepared to deal with it if you're going in that direction. So, for example, many of us might be afraid of darkness, but if we just know that that darkness is because of electricity failure and it will just come back in a moment or two, we are chilled out. For a moment we miss a beat, but then I think we are okay, right? But when darkness happens and you don't know why it is there and when it will come back and how it happened and stuff like that, you could actually have two reactions. One is just matter of factly, hey, let me find out. And the second could be, oh my god, there may be somebody who has switched off the mains. Now, both of these things can be true. It may just have tripped or something like that, so you just have to go and just check the fuse and get it right. And the second thing, that actually something mischief has been done or is being done, is also a possibility. So we cannot just discard one or the other. These are the times when you have to just stay calm, right? And access the natural ability of intuition and gut feeling that has been given to us. Most of the time, you will see that if you can stay calm for a moment, accept what has happened, so stop having the fear, then analyze various reasons that it could happen, and therefore, what is the best approach you should have, right? And then go about doing it. You will see that you will do very little mistakes and you will actually keep a lot of symptoms of stress appearing, and you would have dealt with things without really it affecting you in a stressful manner. So, wanting to please everybody, comparing ourselves with others, I think really competition is one of the stupidest thing that we have introduced in our society. I wish we could scrap that out and we could actually talk about coordination and excellence. I think we can achieve better results by that. The second thing is actually wanting to please others and get certified by others that you are doing well. This is a big problem, and everybody is worried about the judgments others pass on them. So all the time in life one is stressed out about being accepted by people around them, being acknowledged by people around them, by being appreciated by people around them. We are almost dependent on that, and that causes a lot of stress. You just do what you can do your best, move forward. You will know from within you how well you've done. Improve because you want to improve, not because you want to impress somebody else. And move on in life, you will do better. Insecurity is actually today's society's another major problem. And I think that again, comes from the fact that right from childhood, we're talking about number one, who will be in that position, and there can be only one. So there's only one guy or girl who is good, and all the others are actually falling short of something in their life. And everybody is assessed only on just one or two criteria. Whereas actually each one of us have been created very uniquely as individuals who are very different for a reason. None of us look alike. None of us have same even thumb impressions. None of us have the same iris. What to talk about anything else? So we are meant to be different. We all have different strengths, different abilities, different skill sets, and all of that can be utilized very, very positively to make the society brim in excellence much more than it is today. Today, we are actually trying to put everybody into a mold, and we have decided that that is the best thing. And I'll give you a very simple example for all of us to understand. It's like saying there are so many different flowers that nature has created, and each one is actually so beautiful in its own way. But what we have decided is no, no, the rose is the best one. So we have created a mold for rose, and we have created these institutions with conveyor belts, like I call educational institutions like that, where you have these molds, and as soon as a bud comes out in the universe, we just put that into this conveyor belt to go through this process where it will be pushed and pulled into this mold to become a rose. So only if it was a bud that was meant to become a rose, actually it will become that, whether it had gone through this or not. But if it was not meant to be that, then by the time it comes out of that process, it's neither a rose nor what it was meant to be. And it's totally stressed out because of insecurity, because of feeling deficient. And that is something that we are creating for our own children, not for somebody else that we hate. We shouldn't even be doing it for our enemies. I don't know why we are doing it for our own kids. Let's think about it. When people feel lack of confidence in themselves, they don't feel happy about being who they are, they're not happy in their own skins, then there is a problem. Then everything that they come across in life seems stressful because they're trying to be every moment being someone they are not. And even our expectations from others, we want others to accept us the way we are. Yeah, I'm good in this, I'm not good in this. Yeah, I can't be good in everything. But you get married, for example, and you have so many expectations from your spouse. That spouse is another human being like you, has his own plus, her own plus and minus. You have to accept the other individual as a package. You cannot have your expectations on somebody else. You want a wife who is a pretty, nice housewife who cooks really well, takes care of your parents, takes care of your children, welcomes you when you get back home, but also helps you in making money, goes out to work, is smart enough, dresses like, one of those people out there in your office so that you feel proud to take her to a party. If you are a woman, then you are expecting a guy who is really nice, who is there with you to support you in your life and everything that you're doing, helps you with your household chores, but has the biggest job in the world, has the biggest car, has the most luxurious apartment, brings and gifts you jewelries all the time, like, your neighbor next door. It simply doesn't fit. If your husband has to take time out to be with you and your family and help you in your chores and take you out and stuff like that, he cannot be married to his job. If he is not married to his job, he will do well, but he may not do and earn as much as the other person who is almost married to his job. He has to choose, does he want to be married to his wife and family, or does he want to be married to his job? If he has to spend time and be married to his family, then he has to compromise on a few things on the job front. Now, we women have to understand these things. Both men and women have to understand these things. We have to talk these things out. The problem that we are having is, in the world, nobody is teaching us to go through some of the most important milestones in our life. And this happens to be one. So, a lot of stress is actually connected to all these things. So, please, people, I would encourage all of you to please sit down and think. Please just don't go on running after things, doing things that others are doing without thinking. We have been given a thinking ability for a reason. It's just not meant for, you know, getting more, becoming richer, becoming more successful, just, inventing new things. Okay, great, do those things. But again, for what? Let's really, really, really understand that. And many of us who are educated individuals, I urge you all to please live a life where you have thought through, create the purpose, create your priorities in life right, and believe me, by doing that and then managing them right, you will not be in stress. Life is a wonderful journey, and you can enjoy this journey if you are not surrounded by things that are not necessary, but you have them because somebody out there has given the impression that you have to have them, and if you're not living a stressful life, you're being useless. So think again, people. You're here listening to this only because you really don't want to be in stress, and that is why I'm taking the courage to tell you these things. Most of us, we just get up in the morning, especially, people who have a family with young kids and a husband, getting out of the house early in the morning, and even you have to pack and run to office all before like 7:30 or so. This is how we look. Good morning, let the stress begin. Sounds funny, but isn't that true? Let's stop this, people. Not necessary. Life is not complicated. We have learned to make it complicated. And if we have made it complicated, we are the only ones who can simplify it. So, stress is there today, everywhere, for everybody, but we are here to learn how to manage it. So, let's look at some of the options we have. So, first of all, let us understand before getting into the options that it is not the stress that kills us, it is our reaction to it that is the problem. Now, here I would like to bring about this word react and respond. So, basically, we need to learn to control our reaction and practice responding to situations. Very simply put, reaction is when something happens and almost involuntarily we act. That is react. Action, reaction, right? The second thing that we're talking about responding is when we use our intellect as Homo sapiens, as human beings, which we have been blessed with. So when something happens, we accept, we analyze, then we act. That is called responding. And 10 out of 10 times, responding yields better results for all parties concerned than reaction. So we have to really learn how to get away from reacting to things and how to become an individual who practices responding. So again, I'll repeat, responding basically means, first of all, whenever, whatever happens, somebody said something, whatever happens, right? You go through an accident, whatever happens, first accept it. This has happened. Don't say he did that, she did that. Don't start that, putting the blame on somebody. Things have happened. Accept it, label it, then analyze it. So, what is the best way to move forward from here? So, if you're in the middle of the road, you've been hit by somebody, and that guy has really gone. Now, you can fume, you can scream, you can do what you want, and try to note the number of the guy who has gone off, or immediately become aware of the situation that you're in the middle of the road and there is a huge possibility that another vehicle might come in high speed and without realizing you're there might hit you, and that might be the end of the story for you. So which is more important? Obvious, right? Get off the road and then decide what you want to do. First, take care of yourself. If you live, things can be done. You can find that person, you can do what you want to do, whatever. You can file a case, you want a remuneration, whatever. But you're screaming, shouting, staying in the center of the road, just, trying to get that guy down might actually get you killed. So use your intellect, stay calm, accept, stay calm, don't allow your anger to take over you, and then after you analyze, you take the action that you think most appropriate to be taken at that point, like which means respond. So now let's get to what are some of the simple and usually used coping mechanisms to deal with stress. One of the most prominent ones is yoga. And right in the beginning, I would actually like to help all of you understand what is yoga in very, very simple terms, right? So, yoga is the process by which the soul meets the super soul or the created meets the creator. So, please understand that if we are a small bit of energy, then we are meeting the source of energy. So, it's a small cell that is getting connected to the charger. It's like that, right? So, yoga is not just the asanas, just not the physical movements of hands and limbs. There are many forms of yoga, including karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga. For those of you who understand Hindi, I think it's pretty obvious. Karma yoga, so action, and yoga of action. Jnana is knowledge, dhyana is meditation, and bhakti is worship, right? Actually, these English words don't do justice to the words in Sanskrit or Hindi. So, excuse me for that, but I think it makes sense. So, basically, what I'm saying is depending on where you are and what is the particular mode, whether you are a very passionate person, whether you are a person who is very, knowledge oriented, intellectual kind, or whether you are somebody who really believes in doing things and not just talking, or somebody who believes in having faith. You might adopt different kinds of yoga practices, right? But ultimately, in any form, to be called yoga, your mind, body, and soul have to be connected, and you have to be connected to your source. So, yoga is actually like a process to train our body, mind, and soul so that we can have control on these and not the vice versa. So, as the other day I was mentioning, today our mind, our senses, our body seems to be controlling us. And we say that these are mine, but I don't know who is whose. The moment our eyes see something and we like it, then it just compels us to do things that in hindsight we think was a bad idea, right? We know that we need to reduce our weight and should not eat junk food, but the moment we can smell that, we can our saliva starts flowing and we just get drawn to that and all the resolution goes bonkers, right? So all these things happens today, when we think of getting up in the morning and getting started with an exercise at 5 a.m. and stuff like that, our mind comes up with hundreds of reasons on why we can postpone that to tomorrow. So all these are examples to know that what we perceive to be ours seem to be owning us. We are not actually the master of our senses. And that is what yoga helps us to do. And yoga also talks about having a control on our breathing, and in yoga it is called prana is the life source, right? So basically the science behind a lot of yoga is actually lies in the breathing pattern, and if we can discipline that and have a control of that and be aware of that, then to a large extent it is believed that we actually can be living a very disciplined life. Yoga helps us understand life and find ways to transcend this cycle of birth and death. So yoga is actually a very, very I would say high end practice as compared to just physical fitness related exercise, and actually helps us to the extent of understanding the real purpose of life, um, and accessing all the tools that have been provided to us for living that life with that purpose. and ultimately winning the battle of um, transcending this life of birth and death, action and reaction, right? So now let's look at the next method, which could be a part of yoga, but now I'm going into some micro level ones. So, meditation, again, different forms of meditation exist. Meditation can be used to better, like, the operational capacity of our mind and intellect. Meditation can help us focus better and have better memory. Meditation helps us reboot our system, which gets clogged during the day with multitasking, stressful lifestyle. Now, this is where I would actually like to bring this point from neuroscience, that what we today call as multitasking, or doing, multiple things at the same time, uh, it is just not feasible. Our brains are not meant to multitask, and therefore, whenever you might attempt to do that without understanding how to do that to some extent, you might be landing yourself in very, very stressful situations, and actually, you might be ruining the results of all that you're attempting to do. So, one of the ways in which you can multitask actually is, you start learning one new thing at a time. You repeatedly do that for 66 days in a row, then it becomes like a habit. And the moment it becomes a habit, from your active thinking part of the brain, that activity moves to your subconscious brain and therefore releases the active thinking brain to now do something else also. So now you can start doing the second activity or learning the second activity that is new to you, and again do this for 66 days. And then when it goes back into your subconscious mind, you can then access these one or two or three things along with one of the active things that you may be doing. For example, is when you drive to your office the same route every single day, then only a small part of your active brain is engaged in the driving exercise. A lot of it, like for example, mapping and taking the turns and stuff like that, and where the potholes are, and where you have to be careful about the bumps which are marked and not marked, and all the where you should be careful about people crossing without notice and jumping off the barricades. You've noticed it for 66 days very, very actively, and now like your brain has mapped it out and cautions you and allows you to drive on a lot of those stuff like mechanically. And now the second thing you can do is actually like listen to music. Now, while listening to music, you're not actively thinking, analyzing, responding, or doing anything like that. So, that is a relaxed activity, but it still takes some attention of yours if you're listening to the words and stuff like that or enjoying it. So, but still, it's a easier practice to do. But when you start really like talking on phone, while you can listen and talk on phone because your active mind is freed up, but frankly, if you get overly engaged in that and all of that space is taken up, then the little caution that you have to take while driving, in spite of it having become mechanical, might go off the radar and you might do some mistake, and therefore we would not recommend that you do these two things together, right? So like this, you have to really understand this and plan your activities in such a way that you don't foolishly actually stress yourself out when three things have to be done. If one engages your active brain, then unless a large portion of that has been done for 66 days with complete attention and it has gone into your subconscious mind, there is no way you can actually work on another thing and be successful in doing both the things with complete justice. Meditation can help us introspect. Meditation can help us connect with the channel that runs up to our life source and get reconnected and recharged. Very importantly, when you do meditation, when you do these exercises of breathing and all that, it actually, helps you clear those channels, the entire nervous system, of any blockades that might have happened whenever we have stress or toxins in our body. It kind of blocks the flow of oxygen and blood, and that also causes a lot of ailments and stress in our body. So these things like meditation, some yogasanas, or some form of exercise where you sweat yourself out, some form of breathing exercise like pranayama, actually helps clear out those channels and gets you in a shape where you can access all your energy and abilities to a greater extent. So we already spoke about this by disciplining your prana, your breathing. You can actually discipline your entire life. Also, proper breathing. Many times when we are live in a very stressed out life, we do very hollow, breathing, and we don't breathe properly. So our lungs start shrinking, and that's a big problem, especially in times when you really are in some kind of crisis and you need to really use the air that is in the lungs. And if your lungs itself have shrunk, then the capacity really reduces. So actually, by doing proper deep breathing exercises, your lung capacity gets better, it becomes cleaner, oxygen supply to brain and other parts of the body gets better, and this helps in anxiety, anger management, and so on. You have to just try this to believe me. So, whenever something triggers off anger in you, just hold yourself back, sit down, close your eyes, just take deep breaths, 5 of them, and then open your eyes and deal with the situation. You will see you're no longer angry, you're able to see things in much more clarity. You will respond and not react. Anger is a part of reaction, not response. And when you do show anger as part of your responding strategy, then it is very superficial. It's actually not impacting you, it's not actually increasing your blood pressure as it does when it is a reaction. You are just showing, you're raising your voice or showing your anger only because you feel that that is a strategy that is required for the other person to do what that other person needs to do, and that's the only way that person understands. You can still use anger, you know what I mean? You don't get exhumed by your own anger, you actually use the anger for the purpose it is required. Wonderful another means of dealing with stress according to me is absolutely classical relaxing music. Now classical music of any kind, I mean it doesn't have to be only western music or Indian music or whatever. It can be any form of um, music, but not the rock and roll, not the pop music, because it has to be something that is calming and relaxing, right? So I would like to share along with this maybe a few links to like Mozart or Beethoven. Actually, you can just do Google search as well. Or if you are a lover of Indian music, then just go for some Indian classical music. When you feel that you're really stressed out, or you don't even have to, you just start your day with some of this music. Or when you come back, you just put some of this music and you will see the difference in your life. I love this part. Oh, yeah, massage. I think it does wonders, especially after a particular age. I think it's almost like a necessity for many of us who are living in this stressful age where we're breathing things that's not clear. We are, thinking, we are hearing things that are toxic. I think it's extremely interesting, extremely good to get these massages done. And we have a traditional Ayurvedic massage that I would vote for as a preference. But if not, then please go for any other kind of massage that's available around your place. But make sure that those people are really trained to do what they're doing, otherwise, they might actually cause more problem than solving it. right? By giving the wrong pressure in the wrong places and stuff like that. But otherwise, it's a fantastic recommendation I would give. Another thing is, of course, just be with the nature, go for a walk in the park, go and just be there with nature. You know, look at the trees, look at the flowers, look at the birds, and you know, just see like they're also living. There is a provider who is even taking care of them. You are taken care of. You don't have to worry about everything. Actually, things are being provided to you also, only provided we open our arms and receive it. Many times we are, actually closing our doors to what the nature is giving us, and we are wanting to take care of things ourselves. And actually, we can't do justice to uh, what best nature can give us. We can't provide that even for ourselves. It's just not natural. And secondly, things are not in our control as much as we think they are, and we realize it every time things go wrong. Every time things go right, we assume it's because of us. Every time things go wrong, we put it on luck, some other people, circumstances, and so on. Actually, both of them have a large portion of all those, things playing a role. We are also doing something, and it's important for us to do something in the direction that we want to go. But we have to understand that not everything in our hands. Look at those beautiful, you know, nature and just be with them, and it's a huge curing effect. Very importantly, we believe we don't have time, but I would say if you really want to create time for something, you can. So have a hobby or two. It makes a huge difference. Anything that can make you happy. We talked about music, that can be hobby. You can just listen to music, you can sing some music. Doesn't matter how good you are. If you enjoy doing that, put up a karaoke session and just do that. I know of my own relations who have recovered from very chronic situations because of this hobby of singing. They are professionally, doctors, and because of a situation that they were going through, they just adopted this hobby that they had from before, but they almost had it as a life source, and today they give the credit of the recovery to music. So go for painting, go for reading, go for jogging, surfing, skating, cooking, sculpting, dancing, whatever, you choose. You just have to choose whatever you like, you know, just do that. Very importantly, a lot of stress comes to us because we don't manage the time we have well. We have 24 hours, and 24 hours is frankly a big time, out of which we probably sleep for 8 good hours, which is fine. Another 4 to 5 hours we might actually be doing some other stuff, but another 12 good hours we have, and 12 hours is a lot, a lot. So even if you can do 90 minutes, actually divide the 12 hours, or I would say don't forget about 12 hours, okay? In the 12 hours also plan your exercise, meditation, whatever else, right? But for the main job that you want to do, just put those 8 hours and divide the 8 hours into um, segments of 90 minutes each. So after, start with one thing, do it for 90 minutes, do whatever you need to do for 90 minutes at a stretch, and then take a break of 15 minutes. Then do again for 90 minutes. So when I say take a break, don't take too long a break, you lose the momentum. The second thing is, you don't have to take a break in the sense that you don't do anything. You can stretch yourself out, you can have a cup of coffee, you can chat up with somebody, you can also do some different kind of work. For example, you have to do some filing, um, and you also have to do something that needs a lot of your thinking ability. So if you've done your thinking part for 90 minutes, then do something like, which is easy to do, like a phone call or a filing work or something like that for the next 15 minutes. That itself will actually relax you. But I would strongly recommend at least get up and go and fetch yourself a glass of water or coffee or something like that. Stretch yourself. I think that makes a lot of difference. Move your hands, limbs, stretch your back, move your neck in like all possible directions. I think that makes a lot of difference. So please do make a to-do list when you get up in the morning. Focus on what you're doing with these 90-minute sessions. Be proactive. Please don't wait for the last minute. That could get stressful. Prioritize what you have to do. Be sure during the day that even if you are wanting to attempt to do a lot, be sure, like somebody taught me an excellent method of must, should, could. So whatever you have to do before the end of the 8 hours, put it in must. Then put some that it would be ideal if you could do it, which would be should, and put some that you are being optimistic. If you have a fantastic day and a very productive day, then you can do a lot. And put some stuff that if you can manage, you will be truly happy with yourself. But if you cannot, it's okay. It can become the should or the must next day. So prioritize. I think that matters a lot. Organize yourself, your table, your working table, your working space. If you're a housewife, then the house where you live in. I think if it's cluttered, then your mind also gets cluttered. Sometimes make space, keep empty space. I truly believe that your homes, don't clutter it with too much furniture, too much books, too much things. Dispose things off, empty of the space, have space around you, and you will start feeling there is space inside your head also, and you start feeling better. And most importantly, delegate. So it just, this word, many of us think it only applies to office work, and we're talking about delegating work to our juniors. But it's not true. I'm talking about delegate work to your seniors, delegate work to your peers, delegate work to your juniors. Do what you have to do. Think about it, and you might come up with these things. Even in the house, delegate work to your wife, to your husband, to your children. Make them responsible, make your kids responsible. They may not be able to do everything perfectly, but when will you teach them? When will you get them to try, their first time? Just support them in doing things first few times, and you will be amazed at how good they can be. Be encouraging, be positive, be acknowledging for what they do, and you will see you receive a lot of help, and that will help you reduce the stress you have in your life. Having said all this, I would like to really stress on this, that if the self help tips are not helping you, and you find yourself in that chronic long term stress, continuously, then do not hesitate to go for stress management therapy. Go for the professional help, they exist for a reason. So there is absolutely no problem. Go for it. And in the end, I just would request all of you always to deal with every situation in your life. Just live consciously, just become aware of what you're doing, why you're doing, how you're doing. And I think it sorts out a lot of things in our life. When we were younger, we were carefree because we had others to take care, and we knew that. And I think as we grow up, we still can be carefree like a child if we can have faith in our Creator, the universe. Uh, you know, there is nobody who is a better well wisher than that. We just have to have the faith and receive with gratefulness what um, that superpower has to offer to us, and that could actually help us live a very happy life. Believe in this, that everything happens for a reason and everything happens for good. Believe that life has a purpose, and life is, consistently and constantly helping us get better by learning different things, and it presents different situations in our life for us to learn. But most importantly, what I've observed is, if it puts us in a situation, amazingly, actually, we have the ability and the talent to deal with that situation, And only thing required is to have that faith and not give up on ourselves and the universe, and actually go for it, deal with it, cope with it, and you come out with stronger colors every time you go through situations. And I think that's the whole purpose, to make us better, to make us stronger. The situations are presented. So have faith, have belief, become really self aware so that you can really manage yourself better. Be grateful for what you have, just don't be greedy. um, Become really aware of the purpose so that you can really be clear about what all you need to do, why you need to do. Live consciously, prioritize properly, be ambitious but not greedy. Make the right choices and decisions, know what you are after. Lead yourself, be selfish, but live in harmony. What I mean by selfish here is take care of yourself. Once you have taken care of yourself, you can take care of the rest of the people around you, and create a better world. You can't stay hungry and feed others. So take care of yourself. Don't expect others to be taking care of you. You have the ability to do that. Do that for yourself, and live with people who are different than you in harmony. Accept yourself the way you are, and also accept others the way they are. Thank you so much for being so patient and listening through this presentation. And I truly, truly wish all of you a very blessed, conscious living. Thank you.